You know, I'm not really a huge fan of Dave Ramsey. He gives some solid advice, but I think it's more so geared towards the lower to up to middle class family. It's not for people who want to get rich, in my opinion. So he came out with this video and I thought it was pretty interesting. It was a military guy and he was simply wondering if he should rent or buy a house. So we'll roll a clip and see what he's talking about.
Adam's going to start us off in Atlanta, Georgia. Hi, Adam. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave and Rachel. How are you both doing today?
Great, man.
Doing
What's
great.
up?
So my question is whether I should buy or rent. So a little background. I'm currently serving in the Army, getting ready to move duty stations here this summer. My next assignment will be for about 3 years, and I'm just wondering what is going to set me up in the best position to buy or rent.
It's a great question, Adam. Number one, thanks for your service. We appreciate that. Everyone that serves, we greatly honor you and appreciate you. And when it comes to buying a home and staying in something long term, kind of the rule of thumb that we always use is around 5 years. So if you're going to be somewhere 5 years and permanently stay there, then investing into a home is a great option. But we've talked to a lot of military folks out there that, you know, that you guys, in essence of what you do, that you are moving constantly. And sometimes it's more of a headache to own something and try to keep that going versus just renting, because oftentimes it's short term, like you said, just 3 years. So usually the rule of thumb there is if you're there 5 years or longer, that's when I would recommend buying.
I think that's pretty good advice. If you're there for about 5 years or more, that kind of makes sense. But it also depends on where you live at as well. Because, I mean, in Atlanta, that might be okay. But in New York City, you should definitely rent probably up until 7, 8 years, because the taxes will kill you. And by the time you take into consideration, I feel like 9 years should be a good amount of time if you're living in one of these expensive cities. But we'll continue.
Here's the two sides of the equation, Adam, and you can run the equation for yourself, all right? What happens too many times is guys in the military, gals in the military think, oh, owning a home's always smart. Everybody should own a home. You ought to buy a house. You ought to buy a house. And they buy a house in a military community where there's constant turnover, and it's very difficult to sell a house because there's always a bunch of houses for sale. Also, they don't always go up in value as much because there's always a bunch of houses for sale.
True.
And then they end up, oh, well, I'll just rent it. And you look up at the end of your career and you got 7 rental properties in 7 different cities that were former residences that you became a landlord by default. Well, that we don't want you to do. And you don't want to do that. Okay? Now, the times that you can buy is what Rachel's saying, when you reach a point in your career, or you take the type of a position in your career where you're going to be there a little longer, it's going to make sense. Even if you're there only 3 years, there's a few times it might work. And here's how you can actually do the math to make the decision, okay? You can contact one of our ELPs in the area, one of our real estate ELPs in the area, and you're looking for 2 things in that market. And I would go back a couple of years. I wouldn't count this last 12 months because they're weird in the real estate market. But other than the last 12 months, I would say, what is the average appreciation rate within 5 or 10 miles of the area I'm looking at?
I think that's pretty interesting. You don't have to contact anyone, because I want to say Graham Steffens had put me on to this calculator, and obviously I don't know him personally, so it was in a video. Is this on? It is on. Okay, so this is the New York Times rent versus buy calculator, right? So a home price, and over here you put the numbers in and the home price, and it's gonna spit out. It says if you can rent a similar home for less than $884 a month, then renting is better. So say for you, if you have a $250,000 house and you see how if you go up to $1 million, obviously the renting would go up. But let's just say, we'll say $500,000 to be more realistic. In New York, if you rented a house for $500,000 here, you'd be poor. how long do you plan on staying, which was what Ramsey was talking about. You stay less time, the amount you should pay for this property is going to go up, because the less you stay, the more money you probably save just renting. But the longer you stay, the cheaper it's going to become, obviously. So that's at 9 years. Then you got, if you got good credit or not, we got 3.67% mortgage. I think I would leave it there because mortgage interest rates are going back up. I heard in California they jumped from like 3.3 to 4.6. So down payment on a home, how much money you plan on putting down on a house. Pretty simple stuff. 30-year mortgage, home price growth, what you expect. So you can look in your area and see how often it goes up. Rent growth. How often do they raise your rent in the area? Because all of these are deciding factors. And here's the interesting thing that I saw that I thought was interesting. The investment return rate. Because there's a lot of people that just don't invest. So if you don't invest, you notice it went down because you can use your home as an investment. But most people, we think your home really isn't an investment. So I would say I can do probably around 8%. Like I can probably get about an 8% return on my money. Inflation rate, we should put this at 8, but that's not going to probably be the normal. But let's see. Obviously, that one, it only goes up to 10, so I hope it doesn't keep going up. Property taxes in New York, our taxes are pretty crazy. Per year, I want to say ours is about 28,000. That's too much. Probably spend about $8,000 a year. Long story short, 20% on the marginal tax rate, closing costs. It has everything, maintenance fees, everything you can think of that you might want to put in. So I thought this was an interesting calculator that you guys should check out. It's called, I just Googled, is it better to rent or buy, the New York Times, and it'll come up. So let's continue. Oh, we're already here. We'll go back to Ramsey.
Okay. And if the average appreciation rate is 3% and you're there 3 years, you're going to lose money when you resell. You understand?
Okay.
But if the average appreciation rate, not counting whacked out 21, okay, or at the end of 20, if the average appreciation rate is 7 to 10, well, it's going to go up 30% while you're there. And, you could probably make money, agreed?
Right.
But you need to be able to resell it. And that's the second statistic you're looking for, which is DOM, days on the market. What's the average days on the market on homes within a 10-mile radius of where I am looking? If the average days on the market is 270, that's 9 freaking months. You're stuck in this house. You can't give it away. You don't buy there. You follow me? But if the average days on the market within a 10-mile radius is 3 days or 21 days or something like that, that's a pretty hot market. Oh, by the way, you're going to see these numbers correlate. If you're seeing good increases in value, you're going to see short days on the market. You're going to see them together. And if you see long days on the market, you're going to see lower increases in value. And it literally depends on the area. I mean, if you're Navy and you get stationed in San Diego, you probably can roll in and out of that baby and make some money.
Yeah.
But if you're in the plains
here
of Kansas and there's no one within a 20-mile radius except military people, you're not going to get out of that one. That's not going to be a long-term investment for you unless you're there long-term. So that's the way you can run the numbers on it and tell. But most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time when you do all that, you're going to discover, if I'm here 3 years, it doesn't make sense.
Well, and even that,
yeah. So basically, the shorter period of time you plan on being somewhere, it probably doesn't make sense to buy. That just makes sense. It is what it is. But if you plan on living in an area like we do, we'd love to live in this area for probably the next 15 years. Until the kids grow up, then we're looking to buy something, and hopefully the prices go down as the interest rates on the mortgages come up. So it's probably going to be a wash anyway.
Whether it's military, or we even talk to young couples that they just newlyweds that get married, they want a house, but just the factor of owning a home and everything that it takes to keep up with that, there's just a level of that responsibility you always have to filter through when you own a home, because it's all yours.
The more
You're
crap
having to
you,
pay
yeah,
for it.
the more crap you own, the more repairmen you have to know.
100%.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's, and I think within the military, I know different positions take, different levels of stress for sure, but especially if you're in a stress filled, role in the military, there's a part of you that's like, there's a,
yeah, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's something you don't have to worry about when you're renting.
Don't worry about the
especially
heat
if
and
you're
air
there
going out. We'll call the
3 years.
landlord.
I
Yeah.
know.
Right.
There's something I like about that.
Yeah, call the landlord and go, hey, your house is broke. Come fix it.
Come fix it,
Yeah.
and then
And
it gets fixed.
Then you're done. That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the end of the video for Ramsey. And I didn't really touch on it because he didn't bring it up. But the reason why I don't really like his advice is because he talks a lot about not having any debt. And the thing about debt is there's obviously good debt and there's bad debt. And pretty much most of the companies on the stock market have debt. He's like, pay your house off. And no, if you have a good interest rate on your home, you shouldn't pay your house off. Just pay it off in the 30-year loan that you have, and then take that extra money and invest in things that are going to make you more than the 3-4% interest on your money. You could put your money in an index fund and you could make 9 to 10%, as opposed to paying off that home in time and having, sure, you got a home that's clear and free, but you don't have that investment portfolio that has gained you an extra 5% on top of the 3% interest that you would have paid.
What?
So you'll end up losing money in the long run because, yeah, you might have, your home might be paid off, but my home might not be paid off. But at the same time, I might have an extra $1 million on the side from investments, as opposed to me just paying off that $500,000 house early. So that's all I got for y'all. Hit the like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'm out.
Low on my fitted, dreams always been vivid.